Welcome back to another videos, my lovely beans. Today we are talking about not Mesa, but about the Cedo Prime. I will show you 3 builds, 2 good builds, 1 for beginners, because we always want to make sure that everyone has something to test out. I will show you a little interaction with Mesa, and I will talk a little bit about what I think about the Cedo so far, what you can use it for, and what my thoughts are. Have fun. The difference between normal Cedo and Cedo Prime. The normal Cedo is MR8, Cedo Prime is MR15. You have for the Cedo a fire rate of 3.83. The Cedo Prime has a fire rate of 2.5. The reload speed of normal Cedo is 2.2 seconds. Cedo Prime is 1.8. The crit chance for the Cedo is 20%, Cedo Prime has 24%. The crit multiplier are for both 2.4%. The outfire status chance are for both 50%. For the normal Cedo, the multi-shot is initiate 6 pallets for the normal Cedo, and for the Cedo Prime are 7 pallets. The normal Cedo starts with 2 V polarities. The Cedo Prime starts with 2 V polarities and 1 D polarity. The normal Cedo you get all parts from Father, from Entradi Demos. You have to be rank 5 in total to get all parts, and you roughly spend 20,000 standings. Every part can be traded. Cedo Prime, you get the receiver from Axie M6, the barrel from Neo T9, the blueprint from Neo C6, and the stock from Liv A7. Cedo. The Cedo is one of the most anticipated weapons and one of the most hyped weapons at the moment, I would say. We all waited together with Lavas Prime for it. So the Outfire launches a glaive that explodes in a 6-meter radius on impact with a surface or an enemy. The explosion always has 2 separate procs. One with the element you modded for, and 1 random, which can be either toxin, cold, electricity, or heat. And the explosion doesn't need a direct line of sight. It will even penetrate through walls. The most interesting part about the Cedo is the Altfire that throws out a glaive. The glaive has actually a travel time. Without modding, you only have 1 glaive at a time. You get more glaives when you mod for multi-shot. It takes around 5 seconds or up to 11 bounces till the glaive returns without extra mods for it. What is interesting about the Outfire is that with 0 ammo, it will not launch a glaive, or it doesn't fire the Outfire, but it doesn't consume ammo if you launch it. The explosion has a headshot multiplier of ×1, or it doesn't matter if you headshot or not. So it cannot trigger any headshot conditions. I prepped 2 builds for today, and I would like to hear in the end which one you prefer. I prepped a Crux build and a Frostbite build. The Frostbite was a build that I was running before Crux was released, so that's why I'm personally a bit more used to the Frostbite build. The Crux build. The Crux build is running crit chance, a corrosive build, then multi-shot. Multi-shot both impacts the glaive and the normal fire. If you mod for multi-shot, you also have multi-shot on the glaive, so you're actually shooting out multiple glaives. Then Toxic Barrage. Then I have a Riven for multi-shot and crit chance. I would say if you don't have the Riven mod for more multi-shot, Galvanized Savvy. Then Magnetic Stripe. That is technically for the fire rate. You can put here whatever you want, but I would suggest slightly to have some extra fire rate on the Cedo and some crit damage. And then obviously with the Crux, that is gain status chance and ammo efficiency. I would also suggest to run counterbalance on the weapon. Personally, I just don't have enough capacity at the moment because I also ran a wrong polarity here. You can also run galvanized acceleration if you wanted to. To completely compare my Crux build to my Frostbite build, I will swap out the magnetite drive to primed chilling grass, because that is what I will run on my Frostbite build. But just to compare these two weapons, by the way. I absolutely did not miss all of my first shots there. It's definitely comfortable. It's definitely nothing wrong on it. By the way, what you're saying about my Excalibur version, I usually use Excalibur as my testing for Simulacrum. Tell me what you think about my Excalibur version, but that's not the point. And now to talk about Frostbite. Frostbite is on status effect, you get critical damage and multi-shot, which once again affects the glaive and the normal shot, and you get extra crit damage. So from everything that outside of your arcanes, you get extra crit chance, and that's especially nice since I have a crit chance Riven. Doesn't mean that you can't run this build outside of it. If you take that off, you still have like a 72% crit chance for the normal shots, right? I would still say it's really nice to run Frostbite. I personally still think that I prefer Frostbite over Crux. I just want to over both. So we have here Galvanized Hell, Charge Shell, Toxic Barrage, Critical Deceleration. Here more multi-shot if you want to, or even, reload speed if you wanted to, or some fire rate technically, then Savvy, Chilling Grasp, Ravage, and here would be again either acceleration or counterbalance. By the way, counterbalance you are getting from Teshin. If you don't know, it is, I think, 25 steel essence. I'm sorry, I can't currently completely remember the price. Okay, let's see. I just feel that Frostbite is a tiny bit more, it's a tiny bit more. Which is obvious because of the extra crit rate and the multi-shot, right? Technically, what you also could do, since you can get a random status effect from the glaive that you don't mod for cold at all, and you just hope you get a cold effect from there that triggers Frostbite. But since, especially if you have Prime Chilling Grasp, that is the wrong build, I'm so sorry. Since you have Prime Chilling Grasp, you get the 165% cold, you have a lot of damage from there. You obviously could also run any other type. You can run whatever you want. I personally just prefer to run corrosive cold. To run Cedo as a pure primer, if anybody asked that, I think is personally a bit of a waste, because the glaive part, so the alternate fire, is the priming part, and the normal fire is the damage that you can do, right? So that is definitely what you could do. And I don't think that running the Cedo as a pure primer is worth it. So if you got, I will show you a beginner build. I know this weapon is MO15. Technically not considered beginner, but maybe when you came back to the game, you don't have access to steel perf. You still want to use this build, and you still want to explore around it, and you still don't have the option to use Governor Savvy, because Governor Savvy is in these types of build what we use for our base damage. The stacks from Governor Savvy that we don't have later or in the beginner build. So that would technically what you have here. So you have Point Blank for your base damage, you have Blunderbuss for your critical chance, you have Ravage for your critical damage, Toxic Barrage you're getting from Void. Chilling Grasp for viral, then Heat for dot damage, simply if you can't kill everyone immediately. Hellhammer for multi-shot, and Shotgun Barrage simply for the fire rate if you want to. If you even like want to invest here, like keep in mind I have like 2 wrong polarities here. You could still forward in any way, and if you wanted to use the Axler slot, but we can even like do a little test if we could go with that and like kill Steel Path enemies. Maybe not first try, but like, you know, it's still nicely. You can go on like, you know, kill Steel Path enemies with that. Not easily, not super comfy, but it's doable. So it would be like an option for like your first few missions on Steel Path. You know, maybe if you actually hit some. There you go. See, it's doable. So definitely, Cedo, thanks to the status chance, thanks to the extra status, it's definitely doable. I would actually like to show you a third build, and that third build is a primary Deadhead build. And the first second you might think, oh, why? Because technically with Crux and with Frostbite you get way more benefits from the multi-shot and from the extra, with Crux, from the extra status chances, but it is a comfort build, especially from you getting like from the headshots the extra damage, and you getting the recall. And I personally feel like the Cedo has some recall that makes it quite uncomfortable. Obviously you can use in the, you know, Axlers the counterbalance, but you know, why not testing Deadhead? I use currently the same build that I have before, just for you to make it easier to compare. But I want to like after that show you 2 different things as well. So first, typical, you know, Deadhead set, just so we can easier compare it. If you can actually get some headshots, you know, that's will always be my issue. But you see already, you know, when you have your stacks, it's, you know, actually kind of nice. So why not? And then what I want to like show you is when you either use Room, for example, to get the little bit of extra fire rate thanks to reinforced bond, how much more comfort a little bit of fire rate is. And you can get that, for example, if you drop the cold mod. You see the extra fire rate that you can get either from your Panzer or, for example, from Room. So it's actually kind of nice. I absolutely misfired my glaive there. And what you also could do if you don't have a companion that can run reinforced bond, by the way, Panzers can do it if you don't have Worm Prime, but let's say we don't have a Panzer at all that can run it, we can, instead of running Prime Chilling Grass, we can run the Magnetic Stripe, which will, 1, help us a little bit against Overguard, and 2nd, is giving us 40% fire rate. So let's see. Oh, I'm so used to running over my energy. Let's see how 40%. See? So maybe if we don't want to use the cold and we like, you know. So yep, that is actually also the option. I wanted to just mention it. I kind of did not think about it beforehand because I was all about the like, you know, status chances and everything. But, you know, if you want to test it, especially because of the recall, you know, and the headshot multiplier, but mostly for the recall and the base damage, go test it. I would like to suggest that build as well, especially since primary Deadhead is easier to farm compared to Frostbite. Crux is okay with 9099, but as a beginner, you know, new to Starshot maybe, and also like for comfort because, you know, recall, definitely go test it, especially with the fire rate from the 40% from magnetic strife or from your companion, go. So definitely worth a test. So let me know what you think. Now, what is actually also interesting about the Cedo is the unique trait. One of the traits I already told you is that when you use the glaive, that you have a 50% that always being triggered an extra element, right? But the primary fire deals 60% additional damage for each status effect on target. Convert secondary ammo pickups to 50% of shotgun ammo when wielded by lavas. We don't use lavas. I don't really like to play lavas. I really don't enjoy lavas, but it is a really good weapon with lavas, since lavas is also giving status duration. So whenever you prime with the Cedo, lavas helps to keep the enemies primed. So that is really nice and helpful. So now, besides lavas, another really interesting frame to use with the Cedo is Mesa, especially around the argument for Ballistica Bullseye. Ballistica Bolt Battery argument. The shot gains a plus 50% final critical chance bonus based on the amount charged, right? So that is an argument around the one. When activated, this power stores damage caused by guns. When triggered again, the damage is channeled through the next gunshot. By the way, about this build, little disclaimer here. I am personally not a huge Mesa player. So if anything is wrong about this build, take this build with a grain of salt. I do not enjoy Mesa a lot, so I have not looked fully into her. It's a build I think it would work. You have damage reduction from her 3, so it is survivable on base steel path. You have a bit of duration for your 4. Technically, you could even use the argument about shooting gallery and don't use natural talent, have a casting speed. I still want to say if you don't use natural talent, you want to have casting speed on it. Rolling guard for the Europees. Equilibrium, as always, for energy economy. Prime flow for a bit more energy. Brief Frostbite for the shield gate. Persistent intensify to stronger. The 4 you could argument if you want to run Umber intensify. Blind rage for the extra strength. Since you don't spam abilities, it's fine to run with negative efficiency, especially with equilibrium and prime flow. You know my opinion on that. That's a good combination with most frames where you don't need to spam. You're actually quite well with that. Now, there are interesting frames that also could be mentioned together with Cedo is obviously Citrine, especially Citrine with her 3. It could be Rhino with Roar. It could be Nyx, obviously, with the extra crit damage that you're getting from Nyx for your weapons when you're inside. Let me double check with Nyx passive, right? Okay, once again, keep in mind, this build is, not an honest build. It is, more for the memes. But it can be, quite fun. But if you want to test it, go test it. I would say Cedo itself is definitely better. So Nyx passive could be really interesting for the Cedo. That's beside the point. But yes, that's also depending. My Nyx is built for slam build, but that's, something else. That could be also really interesting. I'm not sure if I find that, really useful. Or, I don't know if I would use Mesa around that with the Cedo. Now to the question, can Cedo go to level cap? Most likely, yes, Cedo Prime can go to level cap. Is it a weapon that I would recommend to go to level cap? No. Just if that would have been a question, it's not a weapon that I would recommend going to level cap. Definitely not. You can do it, I just would not recommend it. You can kill Acolytes with it, yes. You can kill Thraxes with it, yes. Both of that, I can show you a clip in a second. I tested it with Mesa. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a lot of fun and will try the Cedo and let me know what you think so far of it. And see you in the next video.